Hey guys, Kyle Cordion, the Bass Fishing Declassified. Today's video is our favorite baits in the month of February. So it's no secret probably to a lot of people, my favorite bait is a jerkbait. I love throwing it all over the world, all times of year, but my favorite time to throw it is when it's really, really cold outside. It's always caught a lot of fish when it's cold outside, and that's not any different. But what has changed is the forward-facing sonar technology has created a lot of other anglers who love throwing a jerkbait. So there's a few things that you look for a chance to get ahead of the game, and one of them is a new jerkbait coming out that might have a new look to those fish that have been seeing the same old jerkbait over and over again. And so Smithwick did it. They came out with the Pro Rogue, the FX series. It's smaller than the other Pro Rogue. The FX is a 4.5 inch, 3/8 ounce. Got great hooks on it. It's going to run about 8 foot deep with 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon. And it's going to have that tried and true roll as the old Pro Rogue. It's got that kind of 3D scale effect that Frank Scale has painted them. And in the winter months, I'm going to show you my two favorite colors that they have for the winter months. They have 6, and they're all great colors. But my two favorite ones are going to be this one. This is Violet Chartreuse. It's got a little bit of violet in the head, and it tapers back. It's got a chartreuse belly. It's got a little flare of light chartreuse all through it, but you can kind of see that violet purple that shimmers through that 3D scale look. That right there is going to be my go-to #1 jerkbait in the winter months. And I'm going to have another one tied on, and this is going to be the Northern Lights. It's going to have a lot more purple to it, a darker back, and it doesn't matter. It ain't a watercolor thing. It's just going to be a fish preference. I'm going to have both of those tied on. The other thing that's important in the winter months is having a jerkbait that will vary in depth a little bit. So I like to use lead suspend strips on the belly or the sides of the bait to help get the bait a little deeper. You can even go down in line size if you want to go from 12 down to 10 or even 8-pound line. That's going to get your bait a little deeper. So depending on the depth you're wanting to do, go up in line size to get shallower, go down in line size to get deeper. Longer cast will get you deeper, so I like throwing a 7-foot rod because I can get a longer cast out of it. And using those suspended strips will also help you get deeper. This is going to have a new action. They ain't seen this one before. You're going to catch more fish on this simply because of that. I promise you it makes a difference when fish see something for the first time. I'm going to throw it on a 7-foot medium action Kistler Helium Series 1 reel, 7:3 to 1 gear ratio. Ratio doesn't really matter to me as long as it's fast enough to catch that fish when they eat it and they take off running when you set the hook. But that's it, man. Get out there in the month of February. Find your channel swings, find your bluff banks, find your isolated pieces of brush that are on flats that have bait. All 3 of those ways are great ways to target fish with your Pro Rogue FX series. And guys, get over to Tackleworks. Get some of these bait sacks. They work phenomenal for dropping your treble hook baits in there and clipping to your rod. It's real simple to do. You just open the mouth, gusset, drop it in. You can grab your line around that, and it clips right to your blank. And it won't go anywhere. It won't foul up the hooks. Won't grab anything else. So hope that helps you guys catch some more fish in the month of February on jerkbaits. See you guys on the next one. Oh, don't forget, go to lurenet.com. You can get all these right now with my coupon code Cordiana15. Saves you 15%. They're $8.99 regular. You're going to get them for $7.64. Can't beat a jerkbait for $7.64.
Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of Bass Fishing Declassified. Really appreciate you guys joining us for today's video. I'm going to talk about my favorite February lure in today's episode. I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on how to fish it and sort of when it works good. Now, if you guys have watched many of our videos here on Bass Fishing Declassified over the past couple months, you've heard me talk about jerkbaits almost exclusively because they are, in my opinion, the #1 wintertime lure between November and like March. February is no different. The only difference is each month has a different jerkbait profile that works better based upon the mood and the personality of the fish. And in February, guys, my favorite lure is a larger jerkbait like this Megabass Edo Shiner. This is a larger bait, it's over 5 inches long. If you guys have seen the January video, I was talking about the finesse jerkbaits. But as we get into February, you're gonna find that the larger jerkbaits will generate more and bigger fish. So I'm gonna give you guys some tips and advice on how to fish this Edo Shiner. Now, one of the reasons I do like this is not only the bait is a larger profile, widthwise, horizontally, lengthwise, it also has a little bit more aggressive action. It's not quite as subtle as some of the smaller baits. So when you jerk the Edo Shiner, it has a real wide dart on it like that. And the reason I like that, it's in correlation with the increased metabolism of a bass. So when you're entering February, we're starting to get into the early part of the pre-spawn. The daylight hours are getting a little bit longer. You know, the water temperatures are slowly starting to warm up, especially so we're in the mid to late February. And the combination of the increase in water temperature and the increase in daylight hours and the proximity getting closer to the spawn where the fish are really needing to feed up, build up their energy for that spawning cycle, they're just a little bit more aggressive. And that increased aggression levels will cause them to bite a larger jerkbait like the Edo Shiner here. So that's the first thing I do. Now, the second thing is where you want to fish this. You're starting to look in a little bit different areas because you're starting to look more in the pre-spawn staging areas. Now, if you remember last month, we talked a lot about fishing those little finesse jerk baits off of main lake and secondary points. As you get into February, I start moving away from those points and I start getting more on the steeper channel banks. So say, for example, if I go back into a major creek arm, I try to pick out 2 or 3 of the deepest, most vertical banks within that creek. And I get on those banks and I take the Edo Shiner and I make long parallel casts down those steep banks, depending upon the water clarity. The cleaner the water, the farther I move out, vice versa. If it's a little bit more off-colored, I stay closer to the bank. I'm looking for that water visibility sort of in that 3 to 8 foot range is going to be best. But those channel banks, that's one of the first places that those pre-spawn females will move up onto as they're getting ready to move down those channel banks and looking into some, finding some spawning areas closer into March and April. But anyway, guys, give it a try. Try some larger jerk baits like the Edo Shiner or any jerk bait over 5 inches long, especially in February when your water temperatures start to rise up slowly from the coldest points in January. And it'll get you a big bite because some of the biggest jerkbait fish I've ever caught have come in mid to late February on these larger jerkbaits. So hope it helps out. We'll see y'all next time.
Guys, I love fishing in the month of February and so many baits to choose from. I'm going to try to, guys, go one category with this right now because I can talk about this bait's worked for me in February, this bait's worked for me for February. On my YouTube channel, The Fishing Coach, I'm actually going to go through the 5 baits I picked from. But right now, we're going to talk about one for me in February. Last February, I ended up catching, which at the time, it still is, my new personal best last February down there in Texas. And I caught that with an Alabama rig. So guys, for me now, I love the Alabama rig. I went so many years without throwing it, and I've talked about that in recent videos, but I brought it back out. Now, one thing though about the Alabama rig, and I've already kind of experienced it, but I'm just going to share a little feedback on the Alabama rig, is people start throwing it a lot December, January, and then fish get accustomed to it. Then anglers go to throwing other things. Jerk baits, they're not throwing this anymore because they feel like the fish are getting pressured. But guys, that February period is a good time to bring it back out because if those other anglers are not throwing it, then you can. And also, my thing is I like to try to find fish that other anglers don't. So that's one thing that I think that I've had success with it is try to target fish in different areas. This right here is the Black's Custom Lure Widowmaker Gen 2 Alabama rig, guys. Black's Custom Lures is a company down in Central Arkansas. I have a affiliate link with them, or I have a code with them if you're interested in checking these Alabama rigs out. They've won a lot. If you're a tournament angler, the guy that's made these is a tournament angler. I mean, he's won over $100,000 in the BFLs. I mean, the dude's been a successful angler. Really good with this. I have a code. I think it's Fish Coach. Go check it out. The information's in the description. I kind of just forgot because I got a couple codes. Swim baits, guys. I have a couple different swim baits. This is 6 Sense Divine Swimmers, Yum Scottsboro. You see, I kind of throw, this is the Pro Blue right here. This right here is a white. I kind of switch up the colors as well. And guys, with the Alabama rig, I'm going to talk about, like, there's Alabama rig, and then I'm going to talk about something else over here that right over here that I kind of throw behind it now as well. So with Alabama rig, what I'm going to kind of be looking for is the areas I'm going to try to target fish. Okay, a lot of people throw at brush piles, and brush piles is a great place to throw them. Rock walls is a great place to throw them, and of course it helps when there's bait fish there, but there might not be bait fish. Like I said, fish can still be there without bait fish. But what I'm going to be looking for is your big flats in creeks. Okay, deeper flats. I'm talking highland reservoirs. Now, if it's a lowland, you can fish flats near creek channels on your upper end of the lake or in your creeks, but they're going to be shallower, okay? On your highland reservoirs, man, you're looking anywhere from 20 to 50 feet, okay? Typically, if the water's clean, all right? Now, in that highland reservoir, in these flats, if it's just bare bottom, you're looking for rock, brush, right? But if there could be trees there, and I'm going to be looking for fish in the trees and trying to pull them out of the trees with this. That's how I caught my big fish down there in Texas, was out of a tree. with it. Pretty sweet. But now, guys, what I did like on a recent fishing trip, them fished in with the Alabama rig. So guess what? I went to a finesse swim bait style, okay? So this right here, cream tackle jig head, Strike King 3Z2, the baby Strike King 3Z2. And that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been doing that. Been throwing the freeloader. Got the freeloader over here on a core tackle tush, okay? So, like I said, Alabama rig's my choice, but guys, I get it. They don't need it. You got to have a plan B. And for me right now, my plan B is going to a smaller finesse presentation, okay? So one big thing about it, guys, on these is try to keep it up in the water column. Pull them out of them trees or out of that brush pile, okay? Like I said, I got a couple clips I'm showing you right here to where, like I said, you and if you don't have forward-facing sonar, because I'm showing you forward-facing sonar, just picture in the water, hey, like I'm in 30 foot, keep that in 10 foot, and if those fish are in 20, they will come up and attack it if they want it, okay? Guys, appreciate it. Let's go see what the next angler has to say. Guys, appreciate it. Thank you for watching another episode on Bass Fishing Declassified.